So we have 4 things on our agenda for today. Chris is going to open us up in a moment with a devotion. We have 2 new techniques to share with you today. One is called cold call, and the other is called the J factor. So I hope you're wondering, what does that J stand for? We'll go over that in a bit. And then our last item is we'll do some closing activities and take some prayer requests.
So a couple of tips for today is if you have the notes that we sent you, that'd be great. But if not, just a pen and paper would be good. We will have a 5-minute break about halfway through. And we are recording this. So for some reason we lose you, we will be able to email over to you the video of everything so you can catch it all another time. And again, to introduce myself, my name is Jenny. I haven't been in teaching quite as long as Amy, but I've been in education for about 10 years. I've taught kindergarten through 3rd grade, but now I am a principal at a school for kindergarten through 8th grade, and I've been doing that for a couple of years now. So excited to be with you today and talk through some of these things.
Well, let's take a moment to get to know each other a little bit better. Last time we were together, we had a question about what you like to do in your free time and your hobbies. Today, we would like to know, what is your favorite part about being a teacher or an educator? So I'll start us off, and then our friends from Harvester can share, and then Jenny will wrap it up for us at the end. So my favorite part about being in education is building relationships with kids, getting to know them and their families, and spending time with them, and when there's no COVID going on, getting high fives and hugs from them, and just building relationships. And any of our friends, maybe Kepo, do you want to start? What do you love about teaching? Or sorry, Patrick. Kepo or Patrick or Sabia?
Yeah, I'm here with Sabia. Moses has moved out. That's right. Moses has moved out. I am with the Savior.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And what is your favorite part about teaching?
Here in the school, the thing I enjoy most is my relationship with the children in the process of teaching them. And that's what I enjoy most, my contact with the children. Because it makes me to meet my goal. Yeah, thank you.
Excellent. How about Sabia?
Okay, what I have enjoyed is that I have learned how to solve problems. Now, since I'm able to deal with the children very well, then I also to relate with the community members, and then even the pupils at large. I have learned, and it has also given for me more knowledge, so I like it.
Nice.
Thank you.
Welcome.
And how about our friends with Morris? Is it Emmanuel, David, Oliver?
What I learned from the school is how good it is to understand how children understand differently, and how to help each according to their level of understanding. There are some who learn so fast. In class, they don't pick.
Great. Anyone else?
Okay, the other thing is actually with our learners here in the school, we are able to help children with special needs because we have them at times, and how we can unify.
Thank you. And am I missing anybody? All right, Jenny, how about you? What is your favorite part about being in education?
There are so many reasons why I love being a teacher, but I would say my favorite thing is kids make me laugh. They're really funny. And they just bring me a lot of joy, and I get to work at a Christian school, so I love talking to them about Jesus and watching their faces fully understand how big and awesome God is for the first time. That's probably my absolute favorite thing. All right, we'll keep going. And now we're going to hear from Chris for a devotion.
All right, thank you guys. Good afternoon, everybody. For those of you I haven't met yet, my name is Chris Nolan. I'm the director of global ministries here at Crossway Church, husband of Amy, and I'm not an educator per se, but I do like to be the source and the inspiration for some of Amy's, what she does at work here in terms of helping to create stressful environments at home so she can have some time to practice. So, but I was thinking this morning about just everything that we're doing, and this whole connection that we have started here, the world that we are all living in right now, and um, I've just been reminded this week about a lot of conversations that I've had with individual people about just the difficulties that they're having and the situations that they're dealing with. Everybody's reacting and responding to the pandemic and to everything else that's going on in so many different ways. And it can be really easy. I've learned in these conversations, it's really easy for people to feel like God is absent or that God is silent or very distant from them in these difficult times. And we also were reminded this week too in a communication with Megan about your situation with your schools in South Sudan and Uganda with cases rising and the starting time or period for your classes being pushed back. And there's just a lot going on right now. And so I'm reminded in this time of Psalm 139 and starting in verse 7. It says, "Where shall I go from your spirit? Or where shall I flee from your presence? If I ascend to heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in Sheol, you are there. If I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, even there your hand shall lead me, and your right hand shall hold me. If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, and the light about me be night, even the darkness is not dark to you. The night is bright as the day, for darkness is as light with you." And these verses remind me that the fact that God is everywhere, even if he feels distant, even if we think he's being quiet, that he is everywhere. He is in everything. He's not just with us in the midst of our difficult moments and our times of frustration, but he's also already gone before us in those. It's like when Moses is talking to Joshua in Deuteronomy 31:8, where he's just getting ready to hand over leadership of the nation of Israel to Joshua. And Moses says in verse 8, "It is the Lord who goes before you. He will be with you. He will not leave you or forsake you. Do not fear or be dismayed." And so as we start our day here, as you all end your day and we reflect, I just give praise for the fact that we worship a God who is sovereign and who wants to be with his people. And even in the moments of difficulty, in the moments where we are the most frustrated, we can be assured that he not only is with us, but that he has gone before us. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. All right, to kick us off, we wanted to quick review some of the things we talked about last time. And last time we talked about this thing called the ratio spectrum. So just a reminder, we're working on helping our students to think deeply and to have all of them thinking deeply. We're also working on having them participate more. So all of the students participating and all of the students thinking gets us to our goal of their learning.
And let's just take a minute to review the two techniques that we talked about last time. The first one is called call and response. And if you remember, that was when teachers would ask their classes a question and the students would all respond in unison with the answer. The second one was called Turn and Talk. This is where teachers encourage students to come up with their own thoughts and their own ideas about a topic, and then they would be paired up with another student, and partner A would share with partner B, and then partner B would share with partner A.
And now our new technique to help us continue to build that ratio is called cold call. So this is when teachers call on students even if they don't raise their hand. So typically in a classroom, you ask a question and the kids who know what to say or kind of understand what you're asking, they'll raise their hand. In this strategy, you call on anybody, even if they don't raise their hand, to show students that at any point in time, you expect them to be thinking and to be trying to learn, even if they're not confident enough to raise their hand just yet.
All right, so let's check this out live with some teachers. We'll watch a couple of videos to see what this actually looks like with some champion teachers doing some cold calling.
In this first example, we see this teacher here working with a really small group of students. Just one thing I want to say is, yes, right here, he's working with just 5 or 6 students, but this is something you can use with a big class or a small group, either one. While you watch this, I want you to think through these questions, and I have places for notes for you. Let me move this. All right, how does the teacher use cold call and response, and turn and talk? So this teacher actually uses our new strategy and the 2 strategies we talked about last time. And then also just take any notes on what else you notice happening in this video. Here we go. And again, no need to focus on deeply what it is the teacher is teaching. Instead, we're really trying to learn what is the teacher doing.
Read the first one, Xavier, just the context.
On page 17, when the author reveals Bud's motivation.
Turn and tell your partner which one is a summary and which one is too vague. We can call this number 1 and this one number 2. Go ahead.
I think number one is a summary because it summarizes the piece of evidence that Bud wants.
There you go. All right, find my voice. Omar, what do you think?
I think number one is too vague because Bud's motivation, that it uses it as a summary of Bud's motivation. If I don't, yeah.
And why is this idea of going to use that strap on me important when we think about this being potentially the summary? Kanisha.
I think the strap on me is connected to being the summary because we know that he's going to be punished, and the punish, it summarizes that piece of evidence by saying how he is going to get punished, and that is why they be people.
What words or phrases just summarize that evidence, Ashley, in the context?
In the context, the phrase that summarizes that context is he doesn't want to be punished.
That summarizes that evidence. That what?
Summarizes the evidence.
All right. So in that video, you would have noticed that he started out asking a question. Then he had the students turn and talk to a partner to start their thinking, get everybody a chance to talk. Then he called on students individually, and they didn't raise their hands, but they knew at any point the teacher could call on them, so they needed to be ready to answer. And then one student said something really great, and then he did a call and response where he had everybody repeat after that student to kind of really hone in on that learning. So even if the students didn't get called on individually, they had a chance to turn and talk, or they had a chance to do a call and response. So all of those students had multiple opportunities to participate in that little mini lesson. Whoops. All right, we're gonna watch this next video, and this is a video where a teacher explains to the students what cold call is and what it means and what she's going to expect of them. So this is called a rollout, or where you teach your students about a new strategy that you're going to be using. So I want you to think through, why does this teacher tell her students about cold call? She actually calls it hot call in this video. Why does she tell them about that? Why is it important to tell students? And then what does she tell her students to think or to do or to expect when cold call is happening? Let's check it out.
All right. In some of your classes, your teachers do this thing. It's called cold calling. In fact, I do it. It's when you don't raise your hand and a teacher, William, calls on you just to see, and it's not like a gotcha, it's really just a way to do a quick review. I don't call it cold calling though, I call it hot calling, because you get a chance to shine and to show that you are on fire. So almost every day when we're talking about genre, we're going to do hot calling. It's a great way to review all of these definitions and terms that we've learned. Here's the hardest part about hot calling. You gotta keep your hands down. Your hands are folded. I will call in a person. When I call in that person, you track just like you normally do, and then you track me when you hear my voice again. Nod if you understand. Nod if you are ready for hot calling. What is the definition of genre, hands down? Robert, what is the definition of genre?
All right, why don't you go ahead and take some time to turn and talk with your partners about those two questions. So why do you think she explains cold call to her students, and what does she tell them to expect? Feel free to turn off your microphone if you'd like while you talk with your partner, and then we'll share out together. Go ahead and all come back together. Does anybody have something that they want to share out that they thought from their discussion? What did you and your partner talk about? You can answer any of the questions. You could answer, why do you think she tells her students about cold call or hot call? Or what does she tell them to expect? Or even, why do you think cold call is good for students?
I think cold call is important for students because from the word go, each student knows one, it must be very keen because a question might come his way anytime.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good. Mm-hmm. Did anybody else think of anything else in those videos? Maybe let's answer the question, why do you think it's important that she tells her students about it?
Telling the students about it makes them get prepared because they know after that there are questions to be asked. And they become attentive, listening to whatever is to be said as they expect question to come after that.
Right. Yeah. Students do best when they know what's expected of them, right? So whenever you explain what's coming up, then they know, rather than just all of a sudden calling on someone and they are like, but I didn't have my hand raised. So it's best if you tell students to be prepared, then they can start that thinking, right? It seemed like someone else was going to say something.
Yes, please. We are sorry to have joined you late.
It's okay. We're
hot call
here.
Yes, hot call actually. This is to put the learner into attention that everyone is supposed to be ready at any time the teacher points, and not necessarily that whenever any question or anything statement is given is particularly directed to one person. So it's just for everybody to get prepared. And anytime, if I am to be appointed to say this, I should say it whether it is right or wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. Great job. All right, we're going to go ahead and keep going, but we'll have some more stuff to talk about in just a bit. Thank you all for sharing out. We appreciate it. It always starts the video again. There we go. All right, Amy.
Yep. So let's take a moment to talk about the 4 purposes or the 4 reasons that we would use cold call. Oftentimes when I'm teaching, if I ask a question, it's the same 3, 4, or 5 kids that raise their hand. So with cold calling, it gets a lot more students involved. So first of all, it checks for understanding. It helps me know if students are paying attention, and it helps me know if they've learned the information. And another thing I'll note is that if I cold call a student and they don't know the answer or they give a wrong answer, I'll let them choose another classmate to help them out, help them give a little more detail to their answer or give a correct answer. So that gives them a little control in the classroom as well. Another reason is engaged accountability. As some of you already mentioned, it requires everyone to be awake, everyone to be on their toes, ready to answer the question. There's no time for dreaming about what they're going to do on the playground. There's no time to be thinking about other things. They have to stay focused. It also helps with pacing. It keeps the lesson moving along because the teacher doesn't have to wait for everyone to raise their hand and then choose someone. The teacher can just give a little think time and then randomly call on a student. And most importantly, it builds our ratio that Jenny just mentioned as we started. We want to increase our think ratio and we want to increase our participation. So cold call requires everyone to think and everyone to be ready to participate, which is the goal. That's the ultimate goal, is for everyone to participate.
There are some keys to make cold calling effective. So how do we make sure that we do this well? So the first thing is you want to keep it predictable. Like we talked about, it's good when students know it's coming. So typically if you name it cold call and at some point you tell your students what cold call means, then through any time of the lesson throughout the rest of the year, you can say, okay, students, we're gonna all keep our hands down and we're gonna do cold call now. And then they know it's coming, they know what to expect. You also wanna make it systematic. So you want to call on anybody in the classroom. If students start to figure out that you're only gonna call on the smart kids or you're only gonna call on the kids in the front row, then the whole purpose is lost, right? You have to make it systematic and you have to call in the front, then in the back, then on the side. You got to call everybody so that students don't really know what's coming or who you're going to call on, so that they know they have to be thinking. You also want to keep it positive, right? You don't want it to be a punishment where you notice a student isn't paying attention, so you call on them. You never want to use it that way. You always want to use it in a positive way where you're trying to let students show everybody what they know. And like Amy said, sometimes the students don't know, and that's okay. At least they tried or attempted to answer the question, right? The next way to make it really effective is you want to break down the question. Rather than asking one really big question, break it down into smaller questions so that multiple students have a chance to answer. Then this one's pretty important. You want to make sure you time the name. So the first thing you do is you ask the question, then you pause, then you say the student's name. Whereas if you say the name in the beginning, then you ask the question, only that one student is going to be thinking because you already said their name. Whereas if you ask the question, then say the name, every student start thinking while you ask that question.
All right, now it's time to practice. Your turn to practice with your partner. So here's what we'll do. Here are directions, and then we'll do a sample for you so you'll know what we expect. First, everyone will get a chance to participate. We'll give you some planning time, and then we'll do a live practice between you and your partner. Remember, you need to explain to the students what cold call is, how you will prepare them, or how you're going to roll out the cold calling. We don't want to surprise them. We want them to be prepared. And then in your packet on page 5 is a worksheet with shapes. We're going to use that page as an example for you to pull questions from, so you don't have to make up any questions. You can use make up some questions from that shapes page. And when you're planning, decide what questions you want to ask. And number 4, remember to time the name. You want to ask the question, give the student some time to think, and then call on the student. And then we'll give you some time to script your cold call and write down some possible questions you want to ask your class, also known as your partner. Your partner will be your whole class.
Just like we did last time, there are going to be 2 rounds, In the first round, one person gets to be the teacher and the other gets to be the student. And the teacher will run through pretending that they're really teaching a class, and the student will answer the questions. And then we want the student to give the teacher feedback. Let the teacher know how they did. You could say, I like how you did this, maybe next time try that. Just give them some tips or some ideas of how you thought they did. Then in round 2, totally switch and let the other person go. If you have more than 2 people in your group, just keep going until everybody has a chance. Then if you have extra time, go again so that you can keep learning from each other. All right, so now we are going to model for you what this could look like. So this is an example of me. I'm going to be the teacher, and Amy and Chris are going to be my students. And I'm going to explain to my students what cold call is, and that what they need to do or to think during cold call, how they can be ready, and then I move into my questions. All right, here we go. Learners, we are going to start something new today. It is called cold call. It is called
Cold call.
Great. Now, with cold call, all of your hands are going to be down, okay? And Miss Waldron is going to call on any one of you to answer. When I call on you, it's going to be your turn to show me and the whole class how amazingly brilliant and smart you are, okay? Are you ready? Yeah, all right, let's get started. Remember, you got to keep your hands down, okay? All right, here's our first question. I want you to think, which shape has 3 sides? Remember, hands down.
Triangle.
Hands down, hang on. All right, Amy.
A triangle.
Good. Great job, Amy. All right, here's our second question. Think about it. Wait for Miss Waldron to call. Which shape has 4 equal sides? Think about it. Chris, which shape has 4 equal sides?
A square.
A square. Great job, Chris. All right, Amy, do you have some feedback for me?
Yeah, I like how you had all the students say cold call. So you had that call and response practice for us so that we could remember what it was called. Maybe try calling it even a game to make it a little more exciting, because some kids might get a little nervous if they know they could randomly be called on. Some students have a little anxiety or nerves around it. So when you call things a game, it makes it a little less scary.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Amy. Great idea.
Sure.
All right. So now it's your turn, Amy.
Yeah. Now you guys get to practice on your own. So in your packet, you have some space to write out some cold call. So step 1, you'll plan your cold call rollout and script it on page 6 of your notes. You want to write down what you'll actually say to the students to explain cold call. And then step 2, take 2 to 3 minutes to plan out the beginning practicing with your partner. And step 3, you can turn off your microphones. But if you have any questions, you can turn them on and let us know that you have a question. We're here to help. And then number 5, before we begin, does anyone have a question for us? Does everyone understand?
Yeah.
Nod your head if you understand.
Good.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll have a 5-minute timer. Once the timer goes off, then we'll come back together and we can share out how it went. All right, you may begin.
Well, back to
So
class.
now,
All right. Let's go to the next slide, if it will. Okay, we'd like to talk with you about how was your practice? How did that go for you? And it would be great if we could have one of you actually do your live script for us so that we could see how it went. So first off, how did it go for you and your partner? What did you think about that practice?
And you may be muted. Chris muted everyone.
Anybody want to share out? How did that practice go?
Oh, Patrick, you're muted.
Chris, can you unmute him? He stepped away.
No, I'm here. Let me take a look.
You can just unmute everyone, please. There we go.
Oh, there we
Okay.
go.
Morris, again, one way.
Patrick, were you gonna go?
Yes, please.
Okay.
This strategy is unique and it's very important. We have seen it's one strategy which captures learners' attention and keeps them to focus on what the teacher wants.
Yeah.
So we were trying to practice here, but time cut us off. But
Oh,
we
no.
can still.
You can practice later.
But we can present.
Do you want to? Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
So that if there's mistake, you can correct us.
Okay. I'm sure you'll be great.
Okay. Here we go. Students, we are going to learn something new. We're using new strategy today, which is called call. I expect all your hands to be down.
Okay.
So I'll pick people randomly. We are learning about shapes. We are learning about shapes. Which shape has all the, which shape has two of its sides equal? Savior.
Triangle.
No. No. Try again. Which shape has two of its sides equal? Savior.
Rectangle.
Yes, thank you.
Yay!
Okay.
You did great. Great job. Do we have anyone else who wants to share?
Yes.
Okay.
So I've been the teacher for the class.
Okay.
And I'm going to present it the way we did. So, class, we are going to learn about something called, what are we going to learn?
We're going to call.
Very good. We are going to learn call. So at the end of the lesson, you should expect some questions that I will ask and you get prepared to answer. I will call anyone randomly, and that's what's meant by call. We are going to learn about malaria. Malaria is caused by particularly a female Anopheles mosquito. It is transmitted when mosquito bites an infected person, and then after that it bites a healthy person. Then the person gets malaria. How we can control it? We slash bush around home, we drain away stagnant water, we sleep under treated insecticide, mosquito nets, and then under rare circumstances, we use petroleum products we pour on stagnant water to starve the larvae from oxygen such that they die at earlier stages. So, to ask you these questions, students in the class, Mr. Oliver, what causes malaria?
Female Anopheles mosquito.
Very good. Malaria is caused by a female Anopheles mosquito. Anyone to repeat? Malaria is caused by
Female Anopheles mosquito.
Very good. How can we control the spread of malaria, Mr. Morris?
By clearing bushes around our homes.
Very good. By clearing the bushes around home. Everyone?
By clearing bushes around homes.
Mr. David, any other way of how we can control the spread of malaria?
Yes, by slashing around the compound to maintain it clean.
Slashing around the compound to maintain it clean. If I may ask, why is it important to slash around the compound to keep it clean? Mr. David?
Yes, reason being because when the environment is clean, mosquitoes might come and stay around. So when you maintain, when you slash it, it chases away. They will not have chance to go environment whereby they come and they hide from there.
Very good. To destroy away the environment where they produce and they multiply. Class, why do we have to slash around
so as to chase from a good environment for multiplication?
Very good. So that is what we meant by cold call, and it is the way how we presented it here. Thank you.
Great job. I like it. I like that you came up with your own questions and lesson. That was good too. Yes, thank you for sharing those examples. Unfortunately for time, we do have to keep going. We would love to hear the others, but we're going to keep going. But I like how you combined cold calling and call and response. So that is the magic of teaching. It's not just using one strategy at a time, but learning how to pull out these multiple things to help students learn. So great job.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All of you did great. I like it. All right, moving on. Oh, we were going to take a 5-minute break here. We are running a little short on time, so I'm going to, but we'll go ahead and turn. We'll come back in a few. It seems you enjoyed that. We're going to keep going.
All right, the second way to bring in the joy factor and some energy into your lessons are some fun games. We have a lot of games that we play in the United States. Maybe you've heard some of these. We'll also show you a couple of videos to demonstrate them. Or if you have games that you already play in your countries, then by all means, you can incorporate them into your lesson. A couple that we play in the United States is a bingo game, oftentimes with vocabulary. A game called Around the World, which is a friendly competition between 2 students at a time. It's a great way to practice vocabulary words and math facts. Another one is 4 Corners, where every student in the room gets up and moving and making choices based on the lesson. Another one is called Jigsaw, where the teacher breaks down a larger lesson and different groups in the classroom get to demonstrate that they've mastered or learned part of the lesson, and then they share out with the rest of the class. And the last one is relay races, which are friendly, quick races between students. So we're going to demonstrate with a video a couple of these. This one is called Around the World, and this is a competition between 2 students at a time. And this is an ELL, English Language Learner Classroom. The teacher is teaching students that are learning English some vocabulary words about food. So 2 students are going to compete against each other when the teacher holds up the flashcard, and whichever student says the name in English the fastest gets to move on to the next partner. And the goal is to go all the way around the room or around the world and beat all the students.
Let's check it out.
Okay, so we're playing Around the World, and Anya's going to stand up, and she's going to come over here to Nastya, and they're going to compete. Whoever gets the word correct moves to the next person. Whoever does not sits down, okay? 1, 2, 3. Meet. Very good. Anya to Christina. Nastya sits down. 1, 2, 3. Excuse Opa! Preste 1. Good. Okay. The goal is to go around the world, to win, to beat every classmate. 1, 2, 3. Eggs. Good. 1, 2, 3. Just. Oh, it's a butter. It's butter. Very good. Butter. Good. Christina. Oh, this is a hard one. 1. Well, maybe not. 1, 2, 3. Soup. It's kind of a strange soup. Good. Okay. Christina wants to get to her space, which was here, right where Anya is. Okay. You guys ready? Nastya, stand up. 1, 2, 3. Oh, Christina almost made it around the world. Christina sits down. Nastya stands up. Nastya goes to Anya.
And we continue on. 1, 2. Cake. Yes. You got it first, right?
All right. So there's lots of different ways to play that game, but it's just a fun little exercise that you can do as students. You can also have students line up in 2 lines, and then the first 2 students compete, and then they go to the back of the line. That's another way to play that. All right, let's check out our next example.
Okay, so we're playing around the world.
Okay, so this is called 4 corners, and we'll let this teacher show it to you, and then we can also talk about it. Here we go.
Okay, first find the ones place, and then you can figure it out. Find the ones place.
4 corners works where you set up anything you want in 4 different corners of your room. For example, rounding numbers, you can put 4 different quantities in each corner. Throw a number on the board and ask the kids, let's round it to the nearest 10. And so the kids have to reflect on their notes, think about what they might know or might not know, and then walk to the corner that they think is the correct answer.
Lisette, do you think you rounded it? Yes. Okay, go walk to your corner. I see some students under 70, okay. From our corners, let's take a look. What's in the ones place? A 1. Is 1 a strong number or is it weak? It's weak. So it becomes what number? That's right. And we keep it at 60. So the correct rounding is 60.
Just a good, simple, quick way to get kids out of their seat and to just reflect on their thinking. It's really just a formative assessment that we can give to children. Real simple, and you can use it in just about any situation.
All right. Another way to play 4 corners is to put the answer A, B, C, and D in a corner. And then you can ask students any type of multiple choice question. Or you could put up true and false, and you can ask them a statement, and then they could go stand by true or false. Lots of different ways to play that game, but it's just a fun thing to let students get up instead of always just sitting down for their learning. Do we have any questions so far about either of those examples? Do you think your students would like games like this? Yeah.
Yeah, I think they will, because that's a new thing.
Yeah.
Only that we will have to really try and localize the things that we give them as a sample.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it takes a little bit, and you have to teach them how to do it. But once you learn 1 or 2 games, then you can use it more often, right? All right, we'll go to the next one. All right, this is another game called Jigsaw, and we'll let this teacher explain it to you. Here we go.
Students are often able to understand complex or multiple text best when they can be broken down into digestible chunks. Jigsaw is an instructional strategy that allows students to share the responsibility for each other's learning by being the expert on a certain portion of an assigned text, and ultimately teaching that portion to their peers.
When I have a particularly challenging or lengthy text, or even a set of texts that I need my students to read, I will frequently use the jigsaw strategy. This strategy also works very well if I have a text that is not especially challenging, but my students and I are in a time crunch.
First, I'll put students into even-numbered groups. Next, I give each group a text that has been divided into equal parts according to the number of students in the group. Either by me assigning parts or students deciding on their own, each student in the group receives a separate section of the text to read. I'll give each group the appropriate time needed to read their text. Sometimes this can be as short as 10 minutes, but other times the time may be much longer. I also tell each student that they are tasked with becoming the expert of their assigned section of text. After this time allotted is up and each group member has read their text, I give a brief amount of time for group members to teach each other what they learned. The goal here is for students to be confident enough in their knowledge to share it with others, and also to learn connecting content from their peers.
After group members have shared with each other in their initial groups, I mix the groups. And since I assign numbers to students earlier, an easy way to do this is to ask students to form new groups by ensuring that they are with different classmates, but each number is represented within the group. This is where the jigsaw idea really makes sense. Each student expert is like a piece of a puzzle, and by forming new groups to teach each other, they are putting the pieces together. Once in their new groups, students will share their findings from their reading with their peers.
At the end of using the jigsaw strategy, see that students have really stepped into their roles as classroom leaders, both by learning from and teaching their peers. How do you see jigsaw working in your classroom? Comment on this video to share the ways you could use jigsaw in your classroom.
Whoops. All right. So for that one, oops, it's playing again. Okay, for that one, it does require some older students, but it's just a way to kind of get students to talk and discuss as a group rather than just always the teacher doing all of the talking. All right. Up next.
All right, the next way that we can bring some joy and excitement to the class is bringing in some friendly competition. They can be small, medium, large size competitions based on whatever you're learning, whether it's math facts or vocabulary words. You can put students in groups. You can break your class in half and have team 1 compete against team 2. You can compete, like my classroom can compete against Jenny's classroom. We can have a competition where we say whose class is the loudest singer or whose class had the best scores on the math tests. We could even give our classes names or our teams fun names. We could even do school-wide competitions where we bring everybody together to celebrate something, and we go through and give classes celebrations for which class had the best attendance, which class did the best job cleaning up after lunch. That's a big issue at my school. The kids are very messy eaters, so who cleaned up the best? So just finding creative ways to make things a little competitive. Not all the time, but a little bit of competition every once in a while is healthy.
All right, this next thing is called Bring the Drama. So a great way to teach students is through songs and dances and chants. So I'm gonna play a little example of a song that was created to teach students the continents, and then we'll keep going. But you can make a song up about anything.
Hopscotch! The world is split up into continents. There are 7 in all. And if you get the gist, we're gonna make a list from biggest to small. They are Asia, Africa, North and South America, Antarctica, Europe, and finally Australia. Asia, Africa, North and South America, Antarctica, Europe, and finally Australia.
Hey, my name is Asia, and more than half of the world lives here, but whatever.
And I am Africa with desert for miles, and my Nile is the longest river.
North America, start down in Panama, wide open spaces all the way to Canada.
I'm South America with animals galore, where the rainforest grows, 'cause the rain really pours.
I'm Antarctica, and I'm totally ours.
And I'm Europe, you're welcome, for the pasta, pizza, waffles, and fries.
I am Australia, some call me Oceania. I got a lot of islands, too many to explain to ya.
We are Asia, Africa, North and South America, Antarctica, Europe, and finally Australia.
So playing songs like that or just making up any song for students really helps them learn those names and remember them for a long time.
Yeah, I love songs too. They help me learn. In fact, when I was in 6th grade, I learned all 50 of the United States in alphabetical order from a song. So, and I can still sing it 40 years later. The next one, number 4, is bringing in some drama. This is a chant. So we're going to hear from a teacher that has a chant that he wrote for his class. And every morning, to get students excited about learning, they sing their chant. So let's check it out.
So you can repeat after me in your big voice. It's our time.
It's our time.
Are you ready to learn?
Are you ready to learn?
Turn your big brain on.
Turn your big brain on.
Are you ready for college?
Are you ready for college?
It's our time.
It's our time.
Are you ready to learn?
Are you ready to learn?
Turn your big brain on.
Turn your big brain on.
Are you ready for college?
Are you ready for college? It's our time. It's our time.
Are you ready to learn?
Are you ready to learn?
Turn your big brain on.
Turn your big brain on.
Are you ready for college?
Are you ready for college?
And you sit down and slant your life with this. Take a seat. Take a seat. Take a load off your feet. Take a seat. Take a seat. Take a load off your feet. Right.
So instead of just saying, okay, boys and girls, let's get started, he starts with that fun, that energy, and then they're more ready and excited to learn. We actually do this at my school every single day, and it's really fun to hear all of the classrooms doing their own little chant, and they like to compete to see who can sing the loudest. So it's just a really fun way to get the day started.
All right, number, oops, sorry. Oh, there's one more, sorry.
Okay, so this last one is a way to do a chant before a different lesson. So this teacher is about to start something called a math meeting where she's teaching her kids all their different math skills. And instead of just saying, let's start math, the kids all sing a song to get it started. So let's check it out.
M-A-T-A-M-W-E-T-I-N-G. Let's read it now. It's starting now. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay. Today's date, boys and girls. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Oops, sorry. Okay. Today is Friday, October 12th.
So you can tell that's a routine. It's something that the students do every time they start math. And again, it just brings that J factor, that fun.
Sure, thank you. Yes.
Amy?
So number 5 is humor, which is one of my favorites because I love to laugh. It's so good for you. And it massages your organs on the inside of your body and sends happy chemicals throughout your brain. So some ways to bring humor into your lessons by introducing some fun questions at the beginning of a lesson or in between lessons, such as we have this thing in the United States called Would You Rather, just silly questions like, would you rather have no toenails or no eyebrows? And everybody has to answer. Or would you rather live in a rocket ship in outer space or a submarine in the ocean? You could have a joke of the day. We tell a lot of jokes at my school. In the cafeteria, we have almost 400 kids eating at 3 different lunch periods, and we go around telling jokes. I'll tell jokes, or students will tell me jokes. Sometimes they don't laugh at my jokes. They think they're terrible, but that's okay because I'll still laugh. You could also tell a funny story that connects to a lesson, or maybe a personal story or a story that happened to someone else to bring in some humor. And you could also break up the lesson with a little bit of dancing to make everybody laugh and relax, or in between lessons. So I think we're going to see a video of some dancing. So Jenny?
So we're going to do this really quick, but it's just an example that at any point, it's okay to just take a quick little break and get everybody doing something fun. So we're going to do this. Everybody stand up And we're gonna dance along to this guy's directions. It'll be really quick, not even a minute. Here we go.
Stand up.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine, she's here. You can take a break. I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space. With the air, like I don't care, baby, by the way. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do.
All right. So that was just a quick little example of you can always add some dance and fun and get back to your learning.
Might be too hot there to dance today, though.
Good point. All right. It's frozen. Sorry. Here we go. Okay. All right.
It might seem
This next strategy is called build surprise and suspense. So this is where you can build up to your question. Instead of just quickly asking it, you can build up to it. So back to shapes. I promise I teach more than just shapes, but it's just an example. So I would say, what's that shape? And then I would point to it really quick and they'd have to guess. Or you could do it with math facts. So you could say, what is 4 times 6? And then you could say it really quick. So it's just kind of building it up, making it fun. Another thing you can do is hide something under students' chairs. So you could hide a vocabulary word of the day or different questions under their chairs. And then you could say, all right, students, look under your chair and see who has the question today. And then they could pull it out and then they could read it for the student for the rest of the class. Or you could hide things in a bag, pass it around and students take something out and answer the question or whatever. It's just different ways to build in that fun and surprise. There are some keys to making this effective. So we pretend it's like a water faucet. So just like with water, you don't want to leave it running all day long. So with all of this fun and energy, you do want to turn it on for a little bit, but then you want to turn it off. So just like we did just now with that dance video, we got up, we had some fun, but then we sat back down and started to learn the rest of our lesson. Also keep in mind it's whistling. So it's whistling while you work. So you're still working, you're still learning, but you're having fun while you do it, right? And then the best type of J factor is called the servant. So this is where the fun and the energy serves or works towards your lesson to where it's connected to your objectives. So those are some quick tips.
Okay, so we're gonna wrap things up like we did last time for our 3, 2, 1 activity. So in your notes right now, if you could jot down real quick 3 tips or 3 things that you learned today that you want to try out in your classroom when your students return. 2 prayer requests that you have for us. And if you wanted to, you could even put those in the chat. And then if you have any questions for us, jot that down. What questions might you have over that had to do with anything that we talked about today or even last time? So take a moment to do that.
I've got that continent song stuck in my head. I'm over here humming it.
It'll take about 20 or 30 more seconds and then we'll share out a few prayer requests so that we can be praying for you. All right, let's bring it back together. And who has a prayer request for us? We love to pray. We believe in the power of prayer. How can we pray for you?
Pray, this is Morris. Pray for us, as our pupils really majority are in the community, and we are trying to reach out to them with tests every day, every week, to learn to be take our lessons effectively, even without our teachers being present all the time.
Right. Okay.
And they ask the teachers to really be hardworking and try some of this that we have learned, like cold call and dramatizing and being joyous and all that, so that they may feel there's a difference whenever they meet their teachers, whatever the lesson.
Okay. Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Morris.
Thank you.
How else can we be praying for you?
I would like to make one request. You can pray for the health of our children in the community and the staff who are engaged in serving the children in the community. There are a lot of children who are sick, and some of our staff who are not feeling well too. So we trust you for prayer for both the staff and the children in the community.
Yeah, for sure. Anyone else? Okay. Does anyone have any questions for us about anything that we learned last time or this time?
Please. I have a concern. Hello,
Yes.
can you hear me?
Yes,
we
go
can
ahead.
hear you.
Yes, please. When we go back to J factors, that is the types, especially the props that we have been to celebrate the children. What if we come to children with disability, like the blind, the deaf, those who really cannot hear totally? How will a child get to know that this I'm being celebrated for this one here when you cannot hear, and this celebration is for me when I cannot see? How can we cater for such children with those kind of handicaps? Thank you.
Good question.
That's a very good question. First, I think with students that are blind and can't see it, they could learn, we call it hand over hand. So you as a teacher or a classmate, if we were doing the roller coaster, you could put your hand on the student's hands and teach them each step, and then they could make the sound. So if they can't see, you could model it for them by doing hand over hand. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And for the blind, it could be celebrations that don't require any sound. It could just be movements like the, Miss Jenny, how does the rocket one go, or the firecracker?
Oh, woo, and then
some snapping. So that doesn't have to require any sound or any vocalization, just the movements if they can see it. So it's okay if they're participating in a different way, or it looks or sounds a little bit different for some students.
Yeah, and I would say at my school, we do have some students who struggle to do these things. But if they can see or know that their peers are doing it, they get excited. Sometimes as the teacher, similar to Amy, I would go over and maybe pick up their hands and shake them and just make them smile like, yay, it's a time to be happy and have fun. And they start to understand that, even if even if they can't do it exactly like the rest of the class?
Mhm.
That's a good question though. Any other questions for us?
I'm Batal Oliver James from Yale.
Okay.
I just have a question. In call method of teaching, I think that's been very good. Of course, it makes children learn very quickly. But the challenge is in a class, you find that there are three types of children, like the introvert, the extrovert, and those who are moderate learning. How can we help those one who are slow learners in most, as time has been stipulated for a lesson?
Yeah, there are a couple of ways to do that. I'd say the easiest way is to do what that first teacher did. Let the student first talk to somebody next to them. That way, if they're a little more shy, they've heard somebody next to them, they've already talked about it in a safer space with just one or two people listening to them, and then they might be a little more confident to share out in front of everybody. Or if they didn't know, then somebody else just talked to them and told them an answer and they can say that. Another thing is, it's okay if students don't know. So sometimes I'll call in a student and I'd say, what's this or that, Amy? And she can just honestly say, you know what, Miss Waldron, I don't know. And I'll say, okay, Amy, I want you to listen and I'm gonna call on somebody else. So then I would call on Chris and then Chris would give me the answer. And then I go back to Amy and I say, Amy, what did you just learn from Chris? So then I called on Amy, she didn't know, but I didn't just say, okay, Amy, it's okay that you don't know. I had her listen to somebody else and then I still made her answer. So that's called no opt out, where you don't let students say that, you let them say they don't know, but then you make sure that they learn it eventually. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I have another. It might be a little bit funny, but this is how it is. We have in a class, it's very common with our pupils here at a certain level, that when a question is asked, like the cold call, you point out at one and gives a wrong answer, and maybe majority had gotten the question so well and they have an answer ready, and this one gives a wrong answer. Instead of just waiting for the teacher to react, they break into laughter. And this one really demoralizes the other. How can a teacher approach this kind of thing as an expectation as he handles the class?
Yeah. So that's something that you just have to set up from the beginning of the year, that and that does happen sometimes where students will laugh and I'll say, whoa, 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 everybody stop laughing. That scholar just gave their best answer. They did their best shot. And actually I give them a prop. So I say, you know what? They just tried their best. Let's celebrate them. And one of the props I have is called risk taker. And it goes like this. It says, risk taker, don't be a hater. Woo! Check that scholar out. So even though they got the answer wrong, I try to celebrate it because you know what? They said something. They didn't just say, I don't know, and just huddle down, but they at least tried. And so I always make sure I correct the class when they do that. And eventually my students learn that we're a class that celebrates just trying. And it's okay to make mistakes. We actually do this where we like shake our fingers at someone to celebrate, like, good job, you're at least trying. Good job, good job. And then we keep going to the next one. So that's just something that you have to make sure every time they do that, when they do laugh, you stop it, you correct it, and then you celebrate that student for at least trying. It's okay to make mistakes.
Thank you.
It takes time though. That doesn't just get fixed overnight.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Well, as before, Jenny has a slide for us that just has our email addresses, which I believe will be sent to you. So you're welcome to email us anytime. we have any questions that you have, or any celebrations that you have, or if you've tried something and it worked, or you tried it and it didn't work and you want some help, please email us. We're here to help at all times.
Thank you,
And then
guys.
Chris,
I just go ahead.
oh yeah,
Go, Amy.
Chris is gonna. I was just gonna say Chris is gonna take us out with the ending prayer.
We copy the email address. Just hold on.
Oh, can you put it back up, Jenny? He's writing it down.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
While you're writing those email addresses, I asked Kepo this at the beginning of the time, but also for those in Tiracaca and Yay, I know students come back in April, and the goal is that we would gather all of the staff together so that those of you who've attended this training can then teach and train the rest of the teaching staff there in Africa. So when you have that date set, please let me know. And then we would like to set up a third meeting for this group to just answer questions and get some feedback for how it went, work on that. So the next step would be just to let me know what date you've picked to train your staff. Kepo said he'll do it before the rest of the students come back in April. And I think you guys might be on the same page, but each location has different situations. So we'll want to see what date that is. But really want to thank specifically here Jenny and Amy for all of the effort that you put in on this training. This is phenomenal. And what I love is that it's practical tips that they can use in Africa, and each one of them helps the students all take more ownership and be more engaged in their learning. So between last time and this time, and I really think just that alone is going to have students not just feeling like they belong in school, but also soaking up the information much better than they would otherwise. So these are great tips, and I can't wait to see them be used. So thank y'all.
Of course, we